Hello and welcome to this week's live. I am coming at you from Italy this time. I hope you're all more or less keeping your cool, literally, because I'm sure for many of you it is rather hot, just like it is here today. We are having about 110 degrees and there's no air conditioning here in most places. So that is why people are suffering a little bit in some parts of Europe particularly, but I know that in parts of the States it's rather hot as well. I'm super excited for another guest from Europe today, and that is Regina Havalova. She is also a nutrition coach, and her and I, oh yay, she is actually here already. Hi, Regina.
Hi, how are you?
I am very well. How about you?
Yeah, pretty good. I was just, I heard you talking about the heat, and God, we have the same struggle here in the Czech Republic.
How hot is it for you today?
I think it's nearly 40 degrees,
Wow,
so
yeah.
like 100 Fahrenheit. Yeah, it's pretty high.
I think what a lot of people in the States are often not realizing too is that in most places in Europe we really don't have any air conditioning. So
No,
it's you just, open the windows in the morning when it's cool. Try to
I
stay
know.
inside when it's too hot and otherwise go out in the night. But yeah,
Exactly. Yeah.
I'm not gonna complain too much because I do like the heat and I think you're similar, right?
Yes, exactly. Yeah, I'm not complaining, and we have a swimming pool as well, so
Perfect.
it's not a big, it's not a big struggle.
Very cool. Well, I'd love for you to just introduce yourself a little bit for everybody who's watching the replay later on,
Sure.
because yeah, I think we have some similarities in our stories, and obviously apart from that, you have your very unique spin on things. So if you'd want to introduce yourself, that would be amazing.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So obviously, my name is Regina. I am from the Czech Republic. And my background, a little bit when it comes to fitness and nutrition, is I have always been active through my whole life. I am very lucky that I have been brought up with active parents, grandparents. I've been always involved in many sports, going on active holidays for biking, hiking. So it's something which comes very natural to me to be moving my body every day, and I really enjoy it. I also love traveling, and about 10 years ago, I went to New Zealand for a new experience
Mhm.
to mainly to improve my English because the education here is not the best. So I went to New Zealand for traveling, new experience. Kind of stayed there because, as you know, a year go by really quickly. So I decided to stay another year, and kind of got my residency and everything. And that's where I decided to pursue my passion for health and fitness. And I have enrolled in a full-time study of personal training course. So I have become a qualified PT, and I was working at the gym as well with one-on-one clients.
Amazing.
So yeah, I really enjoyed that experience, but I soon realized that personal training is really not enough, and I was missing a big piece, which is the nutrition. It was same for my personal life. I have tried all the different techniques, all the different diets, low carb, keto, vegetarian. I was fasting for a year, and it's what I found. It's not really sustainable. It's not a way, to live happily, healthily for a long period of time. Very, very restrictive. So when kind of COVID happened 2 years ago, everything was shut. New Zealand shut the borders. We couldn't travel. We couldn't really do anything. I decided to study the online nutrition course
Mhm.
and become a nutritionist. Part of this because I wanted to understand more about the body functions and, how to fuel myself and everything. And also later on to inspire others and help my friends, help my family to live better life. So I have studied an online course, and then I was searching for jobs, and I found Macros Inc., amazing company who specializes online nutrition and personal training coaching. So I have joined them about 10 months ago.
Amazing. Very cool. And now you're doing that full time.
Yes, yeah, that's exactly what I'm doing. So I obviously left New Zealand, went back to Europe, so I'm closer to my family and I can travel a bit more, yeah, be around here. And I'm just coaching the clients online
Super
now.
cool. Well, I mean, as you know, I can relate to you on so many things, whether that pertains to
Yeah.
the nutrition aspect or just our history in general. I nearly spent 10 years in New Zealand myself, and
Mhm.
yeah, definitely the desire. Like, I came from personal training first just as well, and then I was like, well, people are really not making that much progress when they're just
Mhm.
focusing on exercising and then afterwards they're eating a pizza and whatever, like everything, because they think, oh, I've just done an hour of exercise, now I can eat whatever.
Yeah,
Unfortunately, not the case. But
exactly.
no, it's super cool that you have found your path and you followed your passion like all throughout this time, and just listening to what's coming up for you and what you think is right, and how you can help people the very best. And obviously you said you have traveled a lot and you are currently
Yeah.
traveling as much as you can too, and that's kind of one thing that I definitely want to dig into a little bit: nutrition while traveling. Because I mean, it's always difficult for people if it's like a vacation that they save up for a number of years, and then it's like 1 week and they're almost expecting or planning on gaining weight throughout that time. And for us, it's a little bit different because we
Mhm.
travel more, and so there's even more moderation involved. If we always, like, if you constantly travel and you constantly have that mindset, I mean, you cannot be lean. It's just you need to live
Exactly.
definitely more and more in the moderation mindset. But I'm curious if you have like some specific strategies, if your clients come to you or even for yourself, where you say that these are my non-negotiables, that you employ and that work really well for you.
Absolutely. Yeah, especially now, like for most of us in Northern Hemisphere, it's time of vacations, holidays, summertime. So I do have numerous amount of clients going on holiday as well. So yeah, definitely I can relate to that. And what I always say, there are always few things to focus on. Obviously, hydration being very important. Especially when we're on holiday, we want to enjoy occasional drink, alcoholic beverage, or cocktail or anything. So I always say that hydration is the number one.
Mm.
Even supplement with electrolytes, remembering, drink first thing in the morning, drink a glass of water before each meal, just throughout the day, keeping hydrated. Another thing is a movement.
Mm-hmm.
As long as you stick with your kind of usual activity, what you're normally doing, it doesn't have to be intentional exercise like going to the gym or, running or anything, but just moving throughout the day, keeping your steps as close as normal will already keep you, pretty active. It keeps your metabolic rate elevated, so you don't have much to worry about.
And you just
So
feel
the
better
movement.
as well, right? Like you feel lighter and
Absolutely, you
you
do.
don't feel as bad for sitting around for meals more as well.
Yes, yeah, it improves your digestions.
Hmm.
Yeah, obviously it releases endorphins as well, so you feel happier, you feel energized. So yeah, definitely stick with any movement. Especially when on holiday, it's a great time to explore, so you can be walking more or doing some fun activities, visiting some parks, hiring a bike to explore in a city, or, there is many, many ways you can get a movement in. So that's very important too. And when it comes to nutrition, I always say protein and veggies
Hmm.
are the main things to focus on. If you really aim to get enough protein with your each meal and add tons of veggies, as we know, they're high in volume, they fill you up, full of fiber, low in calories, you don't have to worry about going over your calorie intake, etc., especially if someone's not tracking while on holiday.
I
Um,
100% agree. I mean, it's going to help with satiation so much, so you're probably less likely to eat as much anyway. And just in general, of course, as we know, if we have the same amount of calories, just mostly carbs and fats, or the same amount of calories, fiber, and protein as
Mhm.
well, you're much less likely to gain or keep that, store that extra energy as body fat than with this approach. And what I think
Yeah.
always is like it's the same as year round, obviously, but in vacation we struggle with that a little bit more, I think, is focusing on what's going to make me feel good in 2-3 hours time as well, because we're so focused on, oh, I want to enjoy right now. But
Yes,
then in that moment,
exactly.
we often forget, how am I going to feel tomorrow morning? How am I going to feel in 2 days' time? How am I even just going to feel in the afternoon if I have like huge plate of French toast and whatever with a ton of syrup and nothing, no protein whatsoever for breakfast? You're probably almost ruining one of your vacation days if you do that. Like nothing about French toast, but
Exactly.
maybe you can share it with somebody and have a little bit of eggs as well, and then you might have way
Mhm.
better energy levels throughout the day.
Absolutely. And that's what I always say. It's very important to, of course, enjoy yourself. And if you do want to have a cocktail or go for a dessert, you can have it,
Totally.
but just prioritize the protein and veggies within your main meals. And even if going out for dinner, I always say it's a good idea to share your main meal with someone. That's straight away cutting calories down to half,
Yeah,
because as we know, the portions are generally like very rich, very large when we're eating out. So sharing a main meal can help with that, and then you can enjoy some appetizer or dessert with it.
totally, absolutely. And
Basically.
that way you still get that experience, because it's most of the time it's the first few bites where we're so excited, right? Like it's oftentimes after half we're like, oh, I
Exactly.
didn't really need it, but I ate it when it was on my plate.
Absolutely. Yes.
Cool. I like those
Yeah. So these
strategies.
would be the main strategies. Yeah, one for when being on vacation, or
Mhm.
out generally when being out, socializing, eating out. Another good thing is always remember that any condiments, oils, fried foods, and that it's very high in calories. So trying to avoid that, trying to ask for dressing on a side with a salad, etc. That can also save tons of calories.
Totally. I love that you mentioned that. And those are such like little hacks that people don't
Yeah.
necessarily think of or forget on while on vacation, but they really do add up. And like overall, I think those are three really great pointers to focus on, and like reasonably easy to apply. Obviously, it's always more challenging in the moment sometimes, or if
Mhm.
when traveling at airports and so on. Most of the time, the thing that's most easily available is carbs, your bread, your muffins, and all that. So a little bit of preparation coming with traveling with some protein bars potentially, or some protein
Yeah.
powder, or boiled eggs, or whatever, and seeking those things out. It is harder, but it is doable. And then often you arrive at your journey, or you arrive back home feeling so much better.
Yeah, absolutely. With that, I have noticed, like, I've traveled quite a bit recently, or coming from New Zealand. I've been to States, Mexico, around Europe in the last 2 months. I have noticed that lots of the airports actually, they have healthy options as well. You can always buy protein bar. They always have fresh fruit cups or yogurts. So definitely there are those options there, or some nuts and pretzels.
That's right.
So
You
it's
just
easy
need to
to
look
get.
for them, as opposed to choosing the first thing that's in front of you, or that's being given to you sometimes as well. So
Absolutely. And as you know, like, you can take any meal, any food with you on a plane as well. So definitely I would bring some healthy snacks and a
totally.
large water bottle too, because I personally drink a lot, and I find if I don't have water bottle, they just give you sometimes these tiny cups on a plane, and it's just not enough. I don't want to keep
It's like a
asking every
zip.
five
Yeah,
minutes.
exactly. You can just say, hey, you can stay here, and I'm just gonna keep refilling my drink.
Yeah, so I always ensure I travel with my water bottle, and when I get on a plane, I go and ask to fill that up for me, and then I'm sorted
I love
sorted
it.
for the flight.
Very cool.
Yeah,
And I have another
definitely.
question, because, well, you mentioned
Hmm.
like your family always going for hikes, and you enjoying hiking and that sort of stuff
Hmm.
too. And I know that especially when you were in New Zealand, you went for plenty of beautiful hikes. So for those kind of things, for like a day trip or for camping, do you have any particular advice when people are like, well, I don't want to take too much stuff or nothing that's perishable, especially if I go hiking or so?
Yeah, again, so I would reach for some kind of protein bar, nut bar, anything you can have kind of handy, even eat while you're walking and stuff. And you can buy lots of really good dried foods as well, or the packs, the instant meals. They're full of nutrients, keep you going. I always like to have some fruits, beef jerky.
Oh, I love it.
Some kind of high protein snacks, which are very easy, because like you said, it's not very realistic to have boiled eggs with you, or even sometimes I made a sandwich, but if you're hiking in the heat, you get to the top of the mountain and it's just not looking the best. So reaching more for the kind of dried stuff. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think there's definitely good options. Of course, some things are heavier than others, but like for camping, for instance, nothing wrong with canned stuff as well, like canned tuna, or then higher protein pasta, like the pasta that's from like beans or chickpeas or whatever, mixed with a can of tuna and some canned tomatoes. I mean, that's a beautiful high protein meal with a little bit of micronutrients as well. So I think that's definitely something. What I do usually try, maybe not on a camping trip, but when traveling in general, is trying to make room for my supplements as well, just because micronutrients sometimes tend to be a little bit on the lower end when traveling. So I think that is definitely coming in handy when it comes to continuing to feel energized and hydrated as well.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
I think with the preparation piece, you touched on something cool, which we also wanted to talk about, and that is nutrition for shift work. So Regina and I, we both met when we were working shift at an airport in New Zealand, and you were in security and I was in the police, and obviously with that you also had like early shift and late shift and so on. And it's sometimes hard, or probably impossible, I don't know, to eat in between things. So I don't know how you went about your days when, for instance, you didn't get your scheduled break, or just in general, shifting between, should I eat at 5 a.m. when I'm supposed to work, and now I have a late shift and I'm supposed to get up later? Like, what kind of strategies did you have?
Yeah, I think with this, it really comes down to individuals, because we are so unique and we have different needs. So we just need to listen to our own body and find what works the best for us. I would always have a good meal before the start of my shift. Ensure that I get enough protein, I get some slow released carbs, healthy fats, to keep me full for at least 3 hours or so. And while I was working, because I was working at the airport, like you said, sometimes the plane was delayed, we didn't get the rostered break, we had to stay longer, etc. I would always have a protein bar handy. No, it's not the best option, as it doesn't keep you as full as having high volume food, but it's the best to have on the go. Especially working at the airport, working on international flights, we weren't able to bring any water or liquids, so I couldn't sneak in like a yogurt.
I did not know that, actually.
Yeah, we could only, same thing, we could only bring like empty water bottle and then fill it up in like our staff room, but we couldn't carry any liquids or gels or anything either. So I would always keep a protein bar and piece of fruit or something for the snacks. But then another thing with the shift work, I say, even though if you're working different shifts, it's very important to have kind of same routine. So I have many clients actually working in a hospital, working as a nurses. So they're doing proper, 3 earlys, 3 nights, very all over the place. I always say, try to create some kind of routine.
I like that.
So even keeping same on early shifts, night shifts, on days off, etc.
I think that that's such a great point, because we don't realize how much our digestion and our circadian rhythm are linked. So, if you have, if you get up, like having the same meal after that is kind of, for your body, oh, it's this and that time. Or if you eat like whatever you eat before going to bed, it's this and that time, regardless of what time it actually is, but it kind of signals your brain. I think that's a really, really good point. Absolutely. And what I think with shift work, or what I found incredibly helpful with shift work, is just meal prepping. And it sounds really boring, but if you think that okay, I've got 5 or 4 shifts in a row, and after 2 shifts, I'm gonna do another meal prep or whatever. You might not do that, and it might sound really boring, but I mean, come on, it's your work lunch. It doesn't have to be the most exciting meal. Save your most exciting meals, your meals out, trying a new recipe and so on for a day off, and just eat the same thing 4 times in a row. Or, you can prep 2 different carb sources and 3 different protein sources and a few different vegetables and play mix and match, but prepare it before the start of your shift stints, because I think once you're in on day 2, 3, whatever, however many you have to do in a row, your energy just goes down, 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 down. So it's unrealistic to think that at some point you're gonna feel more excited to do your meal prep than like at the end of your days off. So yeah, I think that that just like reiterating to yourself, not every meal has to be exciting. Of course, yes, taste, flavor, sure. You can work so much with seasoning and mix things up differently with different low calorie condiments or whatever it is. But it's a work lunch. Eat it and make it nutritious, and then have some other exciting part of your day.
Absolutely, I 100% agree, because you are right. As you move down the days of your shifts, you're getting more and more tired, so you're not as excited. You're not going to do the meal prep, but it definitely helps. And don't forget, you can use quick options like microwavable rice or instant rice. You can have the tuna can always with you. Or frozen veggies, some kind of options you can throw out together and have a meal within a minute.
Oh,
yeah, absolutely.
Totally. And like you said, there are actually nowadays also some like macro-friendly meal prep services or just pre-prepared meals that you do chuck in the microwave or whatever. And, it's easy, but just trying to make sure that vegetables and protein are always included in our meals is definitely a very good thing to focus on, I think, as well.
Absolutely.
One other thing that I wanted to talk about, because you also said you grew up in a family where it was always go, go, go and activity, and the exercise piece of things always came easy for you. And I don't know if I'm right with that, but certainly it was like similar for me as well. And it kind of turned into almost not an obsession, but just an outlet, especially if you're maybe not as fulfilled at work, or have other stressors going on. Then you're like, whoa, I'm gonna dive into my exercise. It's so much fun. And so I certainly kind of got into a little bit too far into the overtraining, because I thought, it's so fun, how can this be bad for me? And I wonder if you have had similar experiences where you just notice, well, I need to dial it back a little bit, and actually more is not always better.
Absolutely, yeah, especially before studying the personal training and understanding how the body works and everything. I always thought the more is better. Like you said, you enjoy it, it's great, you push yourself, it's fun. You're getting toned, you feel amazing. So yeah, I have struggled with that as well. I had weeks where I was doing CrossFit training, I was running on top of that, sometimes not having any day of training at all, not taking any rest days, not focusing on enough recovery, stretching, flexibility. I always found that stuff boring. Yeah, I have injured myself once doing deadlifts at the gym. I kind of tore my hamstring.
Oh, wow.
And that was like a wake-up call for me.
Yes.
Yeah, that was definitely, I realized, okay, maybe this is not the way to go. And after that, I started studying the training, learn about the body, the functions, and how important it is to take a rest days. Definitely give your body a chance to adapt.
Yes. And I think just realizing too that if we do that, then on some of the following days or on the fewer days that we do, we are often or most of the time so much stronger. So like you're actually able to progress more and see more results. And that was like, it just sounded so backwards. When first you hear about it, it kind of makes sense, but at the same time, it's like reverse dieting when you tell people, hey, you got to eat more to speed up your metabolism. You're like, what? Eat more? And I can potentially, weigh the same or less. And it's sort of like dialing back on training, and it can actually be better for my body composition, especially my hormones. And like, I look better too. What?
Yeah, what's going on? I know.
Exactly. But I mean, it's unfortunate that sometimes we have to learn the hard way, and hopefully we can, like as coaches, guide people towards the right direction so that they don't necessarily have to get injured first.
Exactly.
But sometimes you do have to feel negative effects first or feeling stuck. As I personally, I don't know what your main client focus is, but some of my clients, for instance, they're like, what's with my lower body belly fat? Why is that always going last, or why is it never going away? I'm like, well, you're just overstressing everywhere. Not enough
Yeah.
food, not enough sleep, too much training, and so on. So maybe let's look at your training as well.
Absolutely. We have to remember it's all connected, and we can't just focus on one thing at a time. We need to have the proper training, keep hydrated, have the nutritious foods and everything to support the training, support the recovery, and also stress and sleep, very important as well. If we're feeling too stressed, obviously we're not going to recover well. And if we don't get enough sleep, same thing. So yeah, very, very important as well to focus on a sleep. I always tell people, my clients, because I find that lots of people struggle with a good sleep or they don't sleep enough. So I always tell them few strategies, like don't forget not having a coffee close to the bedtime or in the afternoon, because lots of people don't realize they are at work, they have their afternoon coffee, and that kind of disrupts the sleep as well. So I always tell them cut the caffeine after 2-3 p.m. latest, and create some kind of pre-bed routine as well to help fall asleep, not using any electronic devices or watching a TV, or kind of create a routine where our body knows we're going to sleep. If it's having a bath or reading a book or something.
It's so powerful. Yes, absolutely. The sleep routine. Again, you're sending your body a signal that, this is what's happening now. We're starting just like a child. Like when you have a child, you don't expect them to just fall asleep like that. You're like, okay, we're taking a bath, we're reading a book, and so on, and then they
exactly
slowly calm down. And to your point with regards to sleep and caffeine and so on, also I used to think, oh, I don't really get affected by caffeine, or like I'm fine with 5-6 hours of sleep or whatever. But sometimes we don't know how bad we feel or what good actually feels like until we feel good, and we're like, whoa, okay, suddenly this is what actual sleep feels like, right? This is what it feels like to actually nourish my body. So I also like try to encourage, even if you think, oh, I'm fine with 6 hours of sleep, or I'm fine drinking coffee 2 hours before bed, give it a try and see how you feel after a week of not doing that. And you might feel like, okay, this is what I'm actually supposed to feel like.
Yeah, that's another good point as well. I remind to my clients who are working night shifts, because often they don't realize, and they will have a coffee at 3-4 a.m. to push through the last few hours, and then try to get home and straight to sleep, and they cannot sleep, they don't feel well, they struggle, and before they know, it's time to go for another night shift. So I always remind them as well to remember that obviously the body is changed, and if they like to have a caffeinated drink or anything, aim for start of the shift.
Yes. And I do think that oftentimes it's more mental than an actual physical craving for the coffee. So like you want a coffee break more than you want the actual coffee, perhaps. So yeah, drink a decaf coffee, or even get a tea or whatever. Like maybe not chamomile tea, because it might make you too sleepy, but it might just be that craving of like a hot beverage in and of itself. And so
exactly,
try to trick your mind for a little bit and see if it works too.
Absolutely, yes.
Awesome. Well, Regina, I want to honor your time, and I'm just to kind of finish this off, because it's been such a beautiful conversation. I'm curious if you have any 2, 3, or even just one tip for anybody listening that you think like to take this away, and hopefully this will help you.
Oh, yes, absolutely. If it's just a couple tips to focus on, I would say it's the daily activity. No matter what, if you are traveling or not in your daily life, I would encourage everyone just to get up and get moving, because that contributes the most towards the calories burn, to overall health, happiness. So I would really, really prioritize the movement. And when it comes to nutrition as well, not stressing enough, not stressing too much, enjoying life and trying to find the great balance, which works for you, which you enjoy, while you're chasing your goals.
I love it. That honestly, just resonated so much with me, because that's exactly like my philosophy. We're here on Earth to enjoy our time,
Yeah,
but at the same time, don't just think about the moment. Try to think about how is this going to make me feel in 2-3 hours? Am I still going to be happy that I?
exactly.
So super, super cool. Thank you so much for your time. I hope you enjoy this beautiful afternoon, the warmth, and at your pool or whatever. And
Yeah.
yeah, it was lovely talking to you.
Yes, thank you so much for having me. It was amazing to see you again. And yeah, I wish
Maybe
you all the
maybe
best as
someday
well.
in person here in Europe. Who knows?
Yeah, hopefully.
Have a great day. Bye.
Yeah, you too. Bye.